Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by WeUni in collaboration with TSiBA Business School. My name is Florencia, and I will be your host during this event. First of all, we want to thank you for joining us. I know your time is really valuable, and that's why we have prepared a very special session with outstanding speakers who will share their expertise and insights with all of you. Before we start, just a quick reminder, during the presentation, you can submit all your questions throughout the Q&A box at the bottom of Zoom. And at the end of the talk, we will open a Q&A session where our speakers will interact directly with you. Also, participants attending this event will be entitled to request a certificate of attendance issued by WeUni. At the end of the session, we will share the link in the chat so you can register and receive it. Now, let me introduce to you today's special guests. I am here with Isabel Palud, visiting lecturer from TSiBA Business School, Sinetemba Dangazele, lecturer and business owner, Gia Whitehead, she's the CEO of TSiBA, Dr. Peter Ayuk, Executive Dean of TSiBA, and John Durr, our representative from the admissions office of TSiBA Business School. It's truly an honor to have you with us. Welcome you all. So today we are going to explore how a semester in Cape Town can teach you more than just business skills by combining community projects and the philosophy of Ubuntu. We are going to discover TSiBA's two business-focused programs, the semester abroad, which is a 4-month experience in entrepreneurship or finance, and the Elevate program, a 6-week career accelerator built around real business challenges and mentorship. With all that said, I will now hand it over to John to begin the presentation, and enjoy your webinar.
Hello, everybody, and welcome, irrespective of your time zone. It's 6 p.m. over here, so welcome to all of you. I'm very happy to have you on board. I look after the international office here at TSiBA, so I'll be, along with Clayton, part of the team that is able to give you all the details you need when we're finished with the webinar. You can come back to us and request whatever you want. I'm very pleased to introduce our hosts and our speakers. Florencia's already introduced them, and we're going to kick off with Gia, who founded TSiBA 21 years ago and has since kept it going along with a few other founders, and managed to create a company and an institution that has really impacted a lot of lives. And we'll follow that through with the Dean, who will then talk a little bit about the curriculum and the academic project at TSiBA. Isabel will follow through with her experience here as an adjunct lecturer, as well as her students from Audentia who have been visiting us for a number of years. And then Sinetemba will conclude with the teaching practices at TSiBA. So I'd like to hand over to Gia and ask her to carry on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, and evening, everyone, and welcome. Speaking about TSiBA, thanks. Next slide, John. Our objective has always been clear, is to develop values-driven leaders and to ensure that our graduates are truly employable in a rapidly changing world. And there you can see our mission, our purpose around accessible, future-focused education and our vision. Next. TSiBA is an accredited higher education institution, and we've been going on 21, nearly 22 years. To date, we've awarded more than 10,000 tuition scholarships and supported thousands of degree graduates, young people who are now contributing to industries, communities, and South Africa's economy and around the world. But what sets TSiBA apart is not just access. It's really about how we prepare our students. Next. Our model places experiential learning at the center of education. we believe that we flip Maslow's hierarchy of needs upside down, and it really starts with self-actualization. So students lead projects, they work in real businesses, they participate in internships, complete entrepreneurial challenges, and engage in personal leadership development. They do learn theory, but they also learn about resilience, communication, values, adaptability, problem solving. And these are skills that employers say matters most. So whilst the right knowledge is absolutely important, so are the right skills and the right attitude. Next. And so employers, to look at our success rate, it's really, as I spoke about earlier, we have over 92%, and our students are moving into sectors like financial services, ICT, and thriving around the world, and obviously in South Africa. Next. And so, in South Africa, but also globally, a degree alone is no longer guarantees employment. And so the world of work is shifting faster than any traditional education can keep up. And this shows some of the realities of people without qualifications compared to graduates from TSiBA and what they start earning. And you can think about what that does in terms of their working life and the impact to their families and communities into the future. So TSiBA is really ahead of the curve. 90% of our graduates are economically active, securing roles even before graduation. And employers consistently tell us that TSiBA graduates arrive work ready, confident, and able to contribute from day one. Next. This has also earned us national recognition. And so for the second year in a row, we've been awarded the South African Private Higher Education Innovation Awards for teaching and learning, experiential learning. And this is really a powerful attribute and affirmation that what we're doing is both innovative and necessary. Next. We have many proven partnerships. We partner with global universities around the world and have students who come and spend time with us. And you'll hear from the colleagues later from France, Switzerland, and all over. And so, next, thanks, John. I'll leave more detail to my colleagues, but really as we look ahead, our mission remains simple and focused to equip young people with values, skills, and practical experience to lead, to thrive, and to build a better future for our country and for the world. Thanks, John.
John, I'm sorry, you're mute.
There you go. Thank you very much, Gia. Just a question before I hand over to the next panel member. You mentioned that we develop entrepreneurial leaders. Could you perhaps just cite some examples of how that philosophy is integrated into the student experience, and perhaps even more so for the semester students?
Thank you, John. So for us, in terms of engaging and in the way in which we teach and learn, we really want to create students that are job creators, who think creatively, who think innovatively. And I know that will come in later, but the skills of design thinking, of starting up businesses practically while you're studying is one piece. And then the leadership is really ways in which you first start to understand yourself, then your community, and then your country. And it's important to learn about leadership, not only about yourself and who you are and what your purpose is, but your role in the world. And we take students out in experiences into the wilderness and elsewhere to really understand more about that, grappling with these issues. So our students ask questions around, who am I? What is my work? What does this look like? And into the world.
Thanks. And then in your mission, you mentioned social mobility.
Absolutely.
How does the international students who come and visit us here, especially the semester students, but others as well, for shorter programs, how does that impact our sort of mission of social mobility?
Thank you. So we are in Africa, and we make sure that the work and the programs that we run are working with a real diverse group of students. But what's more important is that our students also have a social conscience and are socially responsible citizens. And so we go out into the communities, we take on projects, students are expected to pay it forward. They work with local entrepreneurs and businesses, learning about what's really happening on the ground, the realities that South Africa are facing with regards, to poverty, unemployment, and many of the real issues, the SDG goals. And they have to grapple with those and ask those questions, engage with real people, communities, and they have to provide mentorship and training and step in and step up in many ways.
Thank you so much, Gia, and thank you for the 21 years so far, going on 22, that you've contributed to TSiBA and education in South Africa. I'm going to
Thanks,
move
John.
across
It's really
to
rewarding.
thank you. I'm going to move across to Dr. Ayuk now. Dr. Ayuk is our dean, our executive dean, and has an enormous amount of experience in academia generally, having spent most of his life there. He's also on the board of a number of education institutions, as well as the South African Accreditation Committee that looks at accreditation of institutions in South Africa. And he brings all that knowledge to bear as the dean of TSiBA Business School. So welcome, Dr. Ayuk.
Thank you, John. Good evening, and I believe it's still morning in South America. So mine is really to share some insights about what we do at TSiBA, especially as a higher education provider. So yes, 22 years now in the business of educating people from South Africa, especially from marginalized communities, but also through this semester abroad program, working with colleagues from around the world and students from different parts of the world. Broadly speaking, in terms of our offerings, we have 4 accredited higher education qualifications, and the NQF, or the National Qualifications Framework, is very comparable to the European Qualifications Framework, which is based on the Bologna Principle. And for students who are interested, we will be able to engage on a more personal level in terms of how we assess comparability. But that's a key principle in quality assurance in South Africa. We also have 7 occupational qualifications, and over and above that, executive education programs and short courses. And therefore, across this, our core disciplines focus in a number of areas: entrepreneurship, leadership, finance and investment administration. And our students get into various sectors, primarily finance and investment, retail and services, and also move on to create new ventures of their own. As an institution, we pride ourselves. What really sets us apart is a relatively small institution, and which means that we exercise our autonomy. We're agile and responsive to the needs of our students and the partners that we work with. We are entrenched. We have entrenched international collaborations, some lasting 20 years now, with universities from the United States, from Europe, and other parts of the world. We have strong industry networks, both with small local businesses, but also with multinationals that are based in South Africa. Our student body is really a microcosm of Cape Town, which is well known for its diversity. We have a reputation for excellence, and our CEO referred to our recent sector awards: excellence in community engagement, excellence in learning and teaching. And through all of this, what we try and do is to be able to build, competencies that are transferable in terms of knowledge and skills, but also in terms of credits as part of our program. So, for example, students who spend a semester with us from Audencia University in France are able to carry credits onto their qualifications before they graduate from the host university. But also there is a recognition that comes with working with an entity such as ourselves that has a reputation for using education as a vehicle, as a social enterprise. We can move on, John. So some of the programs that we would like to highlight for the purpose of the semester abroad two business-focused programs at two different levels. The first one is a higher certificate in business administration, which on the South African framework is pitched at NQF level 5, 120 credits. This qualification has a strong vocational orientation, which means a good balance between theory on the one hand and practice or experiential learning on the other hand. A distinctive feature of the higher certificate in business administration is that it can actually carry credit. So some of you might want to do more than just one semester. You might want to come and visit at one point and then come again in another semester. So it's important to highlight that the higher certificate carries up to 60 credits into the first year of the bachelor's degree. On the other side, on the right hand of the screen is the Bachelor of Business Administration, which is a 3-year minimum completion time qualification. So the first year is at NQF level 5, the second year NQF level 6, and then it exits in the third year at NQF level 7. Within the qualification, every student studies entrepreneurship and related modules, but there are also electives that lead to specialization in either entrepreneurial leadership or in finance and investment administration. Within a semester, each student completes on average in the range of 60 to 75 credits, and this depends on the combination of compulsory and or elective modules that a student completes. Now, some of the attributes that are shared across both qualifications is that as an international student seeking to study in South Africa, we would look at comparable admission requirements. We're also aware of the language requirements. So for example, someone coming from South America, all that is required is intermediate level English, which means it's conversational. So to give you an example, every year and for 4 years in a row now, we receive students from France who spend a semester with us. When they arrive, they can barely speak English. Within 2 months into the program, they are very fluent, and often they cope very well on the program. Within the semester programs, there are assessments, some formative, which means assessments for learning, and others are summative, which means to be able to evaluate and make a determination whether or not the student is successful. The good news is that almost 100% of our international students, because of the devotion that they bring to the program, they have been very successful. We also issue academic transcripts, which you can use in your home countries when you go back for the purpose of evaluation and integrating your learning and what you have achieved, the credits that you would have attained back into your host qualification. And just for example, in terms of how the credits compare, one credit, a credit from the US university system is equivalent to about 2 credits in the European qualification framework, and that's equivalent to about 4 credits. So most of our qualifications in the undergraduate programs, the 2 flagship programs that we are offering in this program, are either 12 credits or 15 credits, all of them. So that gives you some sense of how that translates into your host qualifications. We can move on, John. Now, this is what you can expect when you study at TSiBA. First of all, it's what we call the TSiBA way. Being a higher education qualification, we have strong emphasis on sound theoretical foundation. And the education that we offer is purpose-led. And for us, at the heart of that purpose is education for social mobility, education for good citizenship, education for great global citizenship. And of course, we know that before you can become a good citizen, an effective employee, or entrepreneur, you have to understand yourself, and therefore personal development becomes very important. Our curriculum is geared towards solving problems. And how do we do that? Because we engage with real problems in the community, working with entrepreneurs who are rooted in various facets of our community, different sectors, and we engage with them, find out what challenges they are facing, and as students and as colleagues, we work together to co-create solutions to these problems. We work with a view to bringing solutions that are not transactional, but that are long-term as well, and therefore sustainability is key. And in our assessment, there's a big emphasis on impact. So for example, it's not just enough for students to work with an entrepreneur and make presentations. But 6 months down the line, a year, or even 2 years after, we maintain the relationship with the entrepreneurs and we want to know what difference. Of course, we often find that the differences, the impact comes in different ways. Part of it is just the learning that we both acquire. Others might be in terms of improvements in sales and or other business performance indices. Of course, teamwork is also very important. Beyond the formal curriculum is also the cultural immersion. Anybody who knows anything about Africa and South Africa knows that we live in a cultural hotspot. And therefore, as international students, we have curated a combination of experiences to make sure that you become fully immersed in the local heritage, that you listen, that we share with you some of the stories that will form indelible impressions in your minds, that we take you to historical sites that see how for centuries global cultures melted into what is this very important focal point in the globe called Cape Town, South Africa. Experiential learning, and my colleague, Mr. Sinetemba Dagazele, will speak a bit more because that's really what he lives and breathes on a daily basis. But again, we do this through very close engagement with local businesses. And as I indicated, we have proudly South African companies, Nando's, MTN, South African breweries that started in this country and now have global footprints. And therefore, we have access to them to be able to balance both the local context and yet a global presence. And also, there is a winner that is comparable to nothing else in the world, which is the wilderness experience in Table Mountain or its environs. So when we speak to our students, whether they come from France or the United States, of course, they love, they appreciate everything else, but their final word has always been the landscape and the nature. And this you have to experience for yourself. If we can move on, John. Now, we look to, if you ask me as somebody who is responsible for the academic project, what kind of student, what kind of learner we aim to produce. Whether it's a learner, someone who is studying with us for the full qualification, or an exchange student, like some of you might be, there are three things that are key, top of mind for me. The one is someone who is engaged and who is connected to the environment, connected to business, connected to a purpose, someone who has agency, someone who shows up, someone who understands his role, someone who brings ethical reasoning, morality to what is it that you do, someone who is authentic, because it is in authenticity that we are able to be the very best of ourselves and therefore contribute to good citizenship. So I decided to start presenting this slide from the end in terms of the outcome. And how do we get there? We get there by looking at the ingredients, which are on the slide to my left. Disciplinary expertise, immersing the students in real-world experiences, having a strong problem-solving orientation, where we embrace artificial intelligence, but of course we don't surrender to artificial intelligence because it could be a double-edged sword. We make sure that there's a good balance between human and AI collaboration, analytical thinking. We challenge information because today, in the information age, it's not so much when some of us went to high school and this, or even university, and this is not giving away my age. Just sourcing information was a problem. Today, it's what you do with the information, how you challenge the information in order to find your voice. And this is what makes learning at TSiBA interesting. It's also about the moral and ethical reasoning. The cross-cultural fluency, when you visit South Africa, whether you're coming from South America, from Europe, or from North America, or even from other African countries, that you're able to learn something that is unique to Southern Africa, and that we, our students, are also able to learn from you. And together we become better global citizens. It's about leadership and teamwork. It's about finding yourself as an individual. And again, as I said, I cannot emphasize enough, one of the experiences that always stands out for all our students, even for exchange students, is that they find something about themselves. They rediscover themselves in a way that they've never done. And all of that yielding or building up to someone who is confident and shows that professional presence. Next slide, John. And finally, I think I would like to end up by just illustrating some of the programs. As I said, we are hoping that we will be able to offer choices. So we don't want everyone stuck in one track. So our programs, our higher education programs are offered on a semester basis. I'm not focusing here on programs that are not structured per semester. So if I use the 3 examples, so this is typically what a semester program looks like for our second year Bachelor of Business Administration students in the first semester, in the second semester, and for the third year in the first semester. I'm not highlighting third year, second semester, because in that semester, all our final year students are out in the field for their internship. So this is just important to note. So for those who would like to visit us in the first half of the year, you can either look to joining the second year of the Bachelor's of Business Administration or the second year or the third year, but in the second semester, it can only be the second year. Of course, there's also other possibilities in the first year as well as in the higher certificate. So there's a range of modules. I'm not going to speak into explain each module, but just to highlight that within each semester, especially if I highlight the second semester of the second year, that some modules are compulsory. For example, entrepreneurship is compulsory, but some are elective, like business law, for example, and project management. So you have a choice between those modules. In total, each student is required to complete 4 to 5 modules, sometimes 6 modules, depending on the credit load per module, and an average of 60 credits in a semester. The maximum credit load that we allow is 75, and this is because we know that our students have to have a balanced life, not just in the formal curriculum, but also to experience the other beautiful things that Cape Town offers, and that is part of the broader curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayuk, and thank you for that insightful coverage of not only the academic rigor that the students will embrace, but also some of the other aspects and the practical aspects of the curriculum that they will engage with and make it a much richer learning experience for them and deeper. So thank you very much. Next speaker is Isabella Palut, who's from France. Isabelle teaches at Audencia in Nantes, France, and has for a number of years now been adjunct faculty with TSiBA, and also initiated an international exchange program with her host university in France. And those students have been coming now for several years. So Isabelle will reflect on both her experience and her students' experiences when coming to TSiBA to study in Cape Town. Thank you. Over to you, TSiBA. Isabelle.
Thank you, John. Okay, so after the serious academic presentation, I'd like to now focus on what foreign students say about their semester here. And before they arrive, their motivations are always the same. They want to travel, they want to explore wild landscapes, improve their English, probably like you in Argentina or Latin America, discover a new culture far from their origin, their country. And of course, they want some fun and they want some adventure. And honestly, that was exactly me when I first came here. I arrived planning to stay here for 3 years, and that was 11 years ago. I'm still here because Cape Town just keeps giving you something new and exciting. And before I go further, let me start with a quick safety note because I'm asked about this all the time. Are you crazy to live in South Africa? And my answer is simple no. Nothing has ever happened to me. I walk in the streets, I drive everywhere, no issues. But I do respect a few basic rules. I don't walk with my cell phone out. I don't wander alone at night. Cape Town is like any big city. You need common sense. Stick to well-known areas. use Uber at night, avoid isolated places. If you know these basic rules, you'll be fine, and students adapt quickly and feel safe. Now, on the more interesting part. Next, please. Why Cape Town and why TSiBA? If you want adventure, there is adventure for everyone and on many levels. First, obviously, like you can see on the peak, outdoor activities with the mountain and the ocean. You can surf, hike, run, join a football team at TSiBA. It's all here and easy. Everything is 30 minutes away. And because you don't have class every day, and especially on Fridays, it's easy for you to rent a car and go on a long weekend for a road trip. You can then explore deserts, nature reserves, and parks with lots of wildlife. Then the cultural adventure. South Africa has 11 official languages, and you feel this cultural richness everywhere in the art, the theater, the music, and especially the food. And yes, restaurants are much more affordable than in Europe. Latin America, I have no idea, I'm sorry. But the most meaningful adventure for me is to meet people. TSiBA is a small institution, around 700 students, so you're not lost among thousands like in big universities. And if you are curious, making friends is easy. We've seen beautiful, long-lasting friendship born here. And for me, the most powerful adventure is making an impact. So coming to South Africa means being exposed to inequality and tough realities. At TSiBA, you meet students who are resilient, energetic, ambitious. Many already run small businesses to support and finance their studies. And this is where your skills matter. You can support entrepreneurs, collaborate on projects, help NGOs. There's many different opportunities to make an impact. And this is how you can understand South Africa from the inside and not as a foreigner, not as a tourist. It's truly a win-win adventure. You learn how to work in a completely different context, and at the same time, you contribute meaningfully. This kind of impact work is transformative. You grow, you gain confidence, you step out of your comfort zone, and you discover abilities you didn't know you had. I always encourage students to go beyond the classroom. There are so many opportunities to make a difference here. Next slide, please, John. And to make a difference, you have TSiBA. TSiBA itself makes a huge difference. It has a strong, as Chia already explained, a strong human-centered vision. And I connected immediately with this vision. And students also. So students and I, also what I really enjoy, we always receive a genuinely warm welcome. This is cultural. You know, when in France, when I come back, it's very different. When I say, bonjour, comment ça va? Hello, how are you? I always answer in an automatic answer, ça va et toi? And ¿qué tal? Muy bien y tú? And here, when they ask you how are you doing, there is a really genuine answer they are expected. So, and it makes this warm hospitality and welcome makes a big difference. And your journey, when you arrive here, starts with a welcome at the airport. So your buddies will come and welcome you in a very friendly way. Next slide, please, John. Now let's go back to the fun activities, because I know this is, you come for studying, but also for having fun and adventure. So as I mentioned earlier, you have 15 years of class per week and a little bit more for homework. So you'll still have plenty of free time, and Cape Town and the surroundings have a lot to offer. You can enjoy drinks on rooftops, go surfing, visit the penguins, explore the beautiful wineries. Everything is close, and the landscapes change completely from one area to another one. So when you go around Cable Mountain, you have the seaside on the seaside, and on the other one you have forests, and the heights are completely different. And to help you make the most of your stay, I created a 35-page guide with all my favorite spots, including some secret places that are not included in the traditional guides, so you don't miss anything while you are here. And thank you, John. This is Kruger National Park. I'm sure you've heard of it. This is my own pics. It's not from the website. And you'll see it's very easy to rent a car, drive safely, and see the big fives and all beautiful animals in the National Reserve. To conclude on the student testimonials from 4 French students, really what stands out is a human connection and hospitality, from my exposure to inequality and at the same time resilience, which allows you to have a strong personal growth, adaptability, self-awareness, confidence, practical learning with entrepreneurs, and always feeling welcomed, seen, and inspired. And during your midterm, So instead of only hearing it from me, the best way, I think, for you to understand what this experience feels like is to hear it directly from the students themselves. So now let's take a look at a video and listen to what they have to say about their semester at TSiBA.
If I have to go again, I will go again.
I think that's a thing that only shows up only once in your entire life.
I discover a lot of wonderful landscapes between the sea and the mountain.
Cape Town is an amazing city. The life in the city is really different than the life that we have in France. I was really lucky because I could travel in several countries in my life, but I have to admit that this country, the landscapes, etc., are really the most beautiful I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it's a new culture also that I've experienced too, and to experience this social area. TSiBA is not just an academic exchange, but more like a life experience. I really enjoyed TSiBA because I was very comfortable there, and yeah, I met many wonderful people, and I have learned from all of them.
People here were really welcoming. The people with you, that's the first time you talk to them, and you already have the impression that they are your close friends. You are very close to your teachers as well.
It's easier to exchange, to ask questions, and to enjoy the course.
You feel really at ease and you can talk about your feelings, etc. So I love it.
I spent 5 days in the Cederberg with my other French friends. It was amazing. There were nobody. It was really special feeling there.
My trip to the Kruger Park was awesome. Only shows up once in your entire life, and it was really awesome. We spent 7 days there. We saw a lot of things, a lot of different things. Yeah, it was really awesome, and we keep this memory for my entire life. Yeah. I think it's really linked to the people. You can talk to everybody. Everybody is welcoming. I have no problem in the city. I'm here since 4 months, and I know the city is a great season of this town, but I felt really at ease, and I felt home for 4 months, so it's great.
Just come. Don't hesitate. It was an amazing experience.
I will have these memories in my entire life, and it was really awesome.
Okay. John, we're back to you now. We cannot hear you. Okay.
Thanks, Laurentia. Do I present again or? or is it still up my presentation?
You should present again. Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Isabel, and also for your dedication to TSiBA over the last few years and the impact you have on our students, as well as the reciprocal impact that your students receive while you're here. It's been an amazing journey with you, and we've welcomed your students now for several years, and that has also been amazing in the classroom as well as out the classroom. So I'm going to hand over now to our next speaker, Sinatemba. Sinatemba lectures entrepreneurship for us across the years, and he'll relate a bit about what happens in and outside the classroom within one of the more experiential modules that we have. Over to you, Sinatemba.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. So I will be talking a little bit about who we are as a society and how we actually incorporate that into the classroom, and essentially what to also look forward to with TSiBA. Thank you. So we live by a simple philosophy called Ubuntu, and the full word or the full saying of that is Umtu ngumtu ngabantu. In other words, I am because we are. So we have a very collaborative spirit, okay, versus an individualistic spirit. And this is intrinsic in who we are as a people and in our cultures. Also, if you look at the historical factor, I like to make an example when I talk about Ubuntu. And usually back in the day, we used to say, my neighbor's child is my child, and my child is my neighbor's child. So if it happens that our children come back from school and the neighbor is still at work, then I would take the neighbor's children into me. If we have supper, we would all have supper together. They would not be excluded as if they were visitors, but together we would all enjoy a good supper. It was also like that when the children was a little bit naughty. So, for example, if the child, gets up to no good, then maybe the neighbor would give the child a little bit of a hiding. And then once the mother comes back, the biological parent comes back and says, why is my child crying? And then the parent explains, or the neighbor explains why, and the child got the hiding. Then the biological mother would say, well, I think you gave them a little hiding, so let me also actually help you to give them a hiding, and so you'll get a double hiding. But that was only simply just the spirit of really Ubuntu, that we are because I am because we are. And that is still intrinsic in our life. Of course, we're living in a modern society today, but that is still intrinsic in who we are as a people, and we incorporated this as much as possible, whether it's in the workspace, whether it is in the classroom, etc. Thank you. Next slide. And one of the key focuses really are the 4 C's, which is critical thinking, again, collaboration, there it comes in, communication and creativity. Really about critical thinking is really about, information and discovery, interpretation and analysis. It's also about, getting into class and really allowing the students to critically think and to have opinions, and also the ability to understand that, there's constructive criticism and destructive criticism. And so it helps with our students in the classroom to understand the difference between the two. Collaborative work, we do a lot of group works, group presentations, and this allows also the ability for students to be working together. And this helps really in the real world, or in the working world, as they leave the institution, they leave the status of being a student up to being a professional. Communication, again, it's effective communication and any other aspect of communication there is. And creativity, which is a big one, because in entrepreneurship, and you will see later on, that really we're all about innovation, right? We are an entrepreneurial nation. And so creativity, idea generation, design, refreshment, refinement of ideas, that's who we are. And we focus very much on innovation, and it's quite critical in who we are and what we do also as a society. So we focus on these 4 C's based on the content and our academic perspective. And so by the time our students leave, we are absolutely sure that these skills, they are able to harness within them. Okay. Then in the class, the pedagogical approach very much so is practical, right? Very theoretical, but also very much practical. Pedagogy is simply the teaching method within the classroom. And you'll see as we speak, please go to the next slide. You see, as we speak, for example, in Entrepreneurship 300, we focus on design thinking. So from day one and in the beginning of the semester, all the way up until the last day, we focus on design thinking, which is an iterative cyclic process. So what we do here is that we invite entrepreneurs and real life entrepreneurs, and they group with our students, and then as we go throughout the semester, we focus on each and every part of the design thinking. And for example, we say, let's first focus on empathy, right? Empathy is all about listening to the entrepreneur, who they are, why they started the business, where do they come from, where are they going, where are they struggling, and everything. I always like to emphasize that on empathy, we don't judge, we just listen, right? There was a very famous saying in South Africa, it says, we listen, but we don't judge. And that's all about empathy, is to really, let's go into society, let's meet the entrepreneurs, let's meet who they are. Why? Because they could be easily judgmental. For example, if an entrepreneur says, I do not have a Facebook account, or I do not know how to create a Facebook account, right? For me and you, that might be easy and quite easily judgmental to say, how can you not do that? But the purpose for empathy is to actually understand, so that as we go into the different sprints, for example, when we go into the defined sprints, the students then come back together in class. Then they start to reframe the problem and say, let us define actually what is the problem. Perhaps the problem is that they can't open a social media account or LinkedIn. Perhaps the problem is that they need a website, or whatever the case might be, right? So they then define the problem that is taken from empathy. And then they ideate the problem, right? Which is then now they start to brainstorm it. And then there's many other wonderful ways and strategies that we can use. For example, there's one way which is called the blue ocean strategy. In other words, we say, how do we take the entrepreneur who's in the red ocean where there's a lot of competition, and we move them into a blue ocean where they can actually pretty much obliterate the competition, or actually have or minimize the competition. And that is a very practical approach, which is very much grounded on theory. Then they do the prototype. In other words, now that we've discovered that the entrepreneur does not have Facebook, so we build the Facebook for them, and we incorporate in Facebook everything. Perhaps it could be the business page, perhaps it could be the paid ads, or whatever the case might be. And then we put it to test, and we can then forecast to say, this is what we have built for you, this is what we have defined as the problem for you, that we took from empathy. And the nicest thing also about this is that you actually go into the real world, the real streets in South Africa to actually meet the entrepreneurs. And it's not a once-off thing, because remember, you've got 6 months to work with them. So probably every week you have to try and meet, whether it's online, depending on the group and the entrepreneur, or whether the entrepreneur comes into the business school, or you as the students go into society and to meet them. So oftentimes the students do go, and oftentimes they meet with the entrepreneurs. And it's actually a fascinating experience, because now you have this theoretical grounding, right, with the practical component to it. And you also get to go and meet the actual entrepreneurs. You see how people live. You go into the townships and you actually see, this is real life. This is how people live, which is completely a new phenomenon for many people. And I think that's one of the ways that is interesting. So this is one of the perhaps let's call it the frameworks that we focus on in Entrepreneurship 300. It's design thinking, and we focus on sprints. We split these sprints across the 6 months, and after that, then the students come and present it to the lecturer, and they tell us this is what we have done from the beginning till the end. We grade you, and then you go home. So we've got very good stats in terms of that. And then a little bit on entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship opportunities in South Africa. I myself am an entrepreneur, so I run a tent business where we rent out tents, right? So we've got a whole entire body, and we've got a whole entire our government actually really advances entrepreneurship. There's grant programs. So one of the bodies is called the National Youth Development Agency, and they fund students, whether it's 50,000 Rand or bursaries or whatever other options to fund the students. So there are very many interesting ways. So I myself then went through the entrepreneurial route. Then I came to TSiBA, studied for my postgrad, my PGDBA, and then essentially I'm now lecturing, and also I'm about to study further in my master's, and all of this is incorporated into this. So we're living in a society where entrepreneurship is actually embedded in us. And once again, the effort is the collaborative effort of Ubuntu. I am because you are. You. Next slide. And essentially, everything that I've said is then embedded into this. So we develop the practical skills, right? We encourage innovation as much as possible. And all of that is also then founded on theoretical foundations. And so that's who we are in a nutshell, and that's what happens in class. And it's fantastic and it's interesting. And I think you guys would absolutely enjoy it. Thank you so much. I think that's my piece.
Thank you, Sinatemba. Thank you very much. I've just got a couple of questions to ask the panel members based on what we've heard, which I thought maybe might be relevant. And we've picked up some of these from the Q&A session from those of you that are attending. Florentia, do you have some others that you want to start off with, or shall I go to the ones that I've got?
No, John, you can go ahead. I just want to thank everyone for making your questions and leaving there. And thank you, Gia, that I saw you have been answering a lot of questions while the speakers were speaking, actually. So, John, you can go ahead.
Okay. So the first one for you, Gia, for students that do have a choice to study almost anywhere abroad, what is the TSiBA difference? The combination of mindset and purpose, etc. What's the most valuable experience that one of the panelists guests are asking? What's the most valuable experience that a student would have coming to TSiBA for a semester or for a short program?
Sure, John, that's a hard one. I think there's so many. For me, there's something about a sense of community and finding like-minded people that are looking for purpose and wanting to understand more about themselves. It's really rich and deep and all encompassing. So it's hard to pick one. I think it's really learning about yourself, practically experiencing things, and I think socially, just really in connecting with people other than experiencing beautiful Cape Town. So I'm sorry, that is not a one-word answer.
Thank you. Dr. Ayuk, I think perhaps you could field this question. Studying in a new country involves new challenges. What's the most significant growth or shift in perspective you see from international students who come to Cape Town?
I think, John, it's not always so much in the disciplinary content, because in terms of the content, whether you're studying economics or finance or accounting or international business, the principles are global. So that is one thing that brings us together. But it's the context and the application and the interpretation in a different environment, and also studying in a very diverse community, which is what studying, immersing yourself in a community that is different from where you come from. And you have an opportunity to even interrogate your own ideas, the way you see the world, because now you begin to see the world through the eyes of people who grew up in a different context, have a different frame of reference. And then suddenly they realize that sense making actually happens in a different way, and that and this leads to learning in ways that are often unexpected. And for us as an institution, all we can do is provide the terrain for people to come from different parts of the world and share ideas and see the world from new perspectives, because in the process, the host students learn, the visiting students learn, and even us as academics, as lecturers, as researchers from both sides also learn, from just experiencing. So it becomes something where, the whole that we get, the overall experience becomes greater than the sum of the parts. And I hope I'm answering your question. And this is expressed in different ways by different students. New knowledge, new experiences, new ways of thinking. And perhaps to end, it's also discovering not just things about the world, but things about themselves. There is knowledge, there are experiences that we take for granted because we were born here, we live here. But when somebody visits, suddenly they see something different and they raise questions. And it also helps us to understand that even better.
Yeah, and maybe I can just add there is, I think, as Peter and I have said, it's a little bit intangible. It's something about a feeling. It's something about a connection. And it's about coming together and building something that you bring individually. So every experience is different depending on the people that are there.
John, you're muted.
Can I add on also?
Yeah, go for it.
It also depends. Yeah, as you already said, it depends on everyone. And the more curious you are, the more you will learn. If you stay in your comfort zone, then you just explore beautiful landscapes and nature reserves. But if you are curious to get to know the community, the people, the entrepreneurs, that's where the deep learning is happening.
And is that a one-way or a two-way cultural exchange?
No, exactly. And when I listened to the TSiBA students, they said that they would have never dreamed to connect with international students and make friends with them, because where they come from, there is a lack of self-confidence. And when they see that they are learning the same things, then it's also uplifting our TSiBA students. It's under both ways. Thank you for that, John.
And I think just to add to that, I think it's multidimensional because we create the experiences for our students, but even as lecturers, we also learn. So it's more than just both ways. There's a third dimension that points to the academics itself, because each time we run this program, we are able to give it, something new because of lessons that we draw from previous experiences.
Thank you, Doctor. And certainly in the classroom, I've evidenced how rich the journey is for both the international and our South African students when they're working together on various projects and presentations and so forth. It's really it's a very rich and rewarding experience. And we pair the students together. So in those groups, there would be international students with TSiBA students working on a project or a problem. And in doing so, form very strong friendships and bonds that last them for a lifetime. So that's really beautiful to see. Then I see another question here in terms of costs and background. I'm not sure what is meant by background, but normally you would be involved in a bachelor's or master's degree somewhere, and you would find the appropriate program here to come into TSiBA. There are also some modules and courses that are not curricular, that are extracurricular, and you can come and attend those as well. For example, we have a 6-week career progression program where you prepare for careers. It's excellent for people about to leave varsity or leave school and go into the job. it prepares them for that. So there's that 6-week one as well. And a host of other ones, design thinking, creativity, innovation programs. So you could engage outside of the curriculum if you wanted to in South Africa as well, for anything from 1 week to 6 weeks to a semester with us. So I think that answers that question.
Yeah, and then John, I just will add one more thing is, you know, when you look back at your life, it's really about the experiences you had, or when you've traveled, or when you've done something different or taken a risk that you remember more than anything else. And so these are opportunities to do that.
Yeah, definitely lifetime experiences. We observe the LinkedIn feeds, especially when people leave here, either for a short program or a semester program. And it's really transformational. They really talk about how it's changed their life, changed their perspectives, not just a curricular journey. It's really a transformational journey for them. And then someone has asked how much does it cost. It depends on the program you come into. So I think just connect with us afterwards and we can send you fact sheets, brochures, which detail the programs we have as well as the costs we have based in Cape Town. So there's quite a bit of information on that.
Actually,
Can I just touch briefly, John, if I may, on the background? I think that is one of the questions that was being posed. For us, the background in terms of discipline of the student does not really matter, because even though the semester is based on management content, but as I explained, it's across different levels. So if we know, it doesn't matter if the student is studying in engineering or in law or medicine or something that is not in management, but in all of these fields, the way that it actually impacts society is if it can be translated into some form of a business product. And that is what we teach. And therefore, we are able to host students regardless of their own specific discipline, but to give them an introduction or some orientation into management education, which they often find very useful. So for us, we just want to know who is a student and what background are you bringing, because that also helps us to have that diversity from which we can draw when we do case studies that also even enrich the experience of our own students. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Yes, that's an important point. Many of the students who come here are not studying business. They're studying at other faculty, but still come to us. So you're not restricted in terms of faculties. Obviously, if you want credits, you must make arrangements with your institution. But we take you through that journey, and and we connect with your institution and discuss those options as well. Okay, I think I've covered the questions in the chat. Florentia, have I missed anything?
Yes.
Or?
No, just one question for Isabel. They are asking if you can share your guide of the spots, the interesting spots in Cape Town. Is it possible?
They can contact the international office.
Yes.
You'll get the deck, and we'll send you a link to not only the guide, but also to visa arrangements, travel, accommodation, all sorts of things that you will need to know if you want to come here.
Yes.
So it's got a comprehensive set of resources for what you want. But Isabel's guide is pretty comprehensive, and she talks about all the hikes she goes on and in detail which path you must take and when you must turn left and right. And
that's so nice.
It's very interesting, and it's lovely. It's really helpful, actually, even for locals. So yeah,
with many peaks,
and there's
so it's also visual.
Yeah,
there is a hand up from Medine.
Yes, we have a hand up from Medine, and he has asked us if we send the webinar and about the certificate of attendance. This is information I have for them. Yes, Medine, you are receiving tomorrow the registration of this webinar. And if you want to receive your certificate of attendance, you can click on the link I have just shared with you in the chat. Everyone can ask for this certificate. Thank you for asking. So as I said, and to close this webinar, tomorrow you're all going to receive an email from WIUNI by Doc City with more information about the university, all the programs, and contact information in case you want to know more about how to apply, about the requirements, visas, accommodation, everything you want to know about living and studying at Cape Town, you can ask directly to the international office. Okay, is that right, John?
100% correct.
Okay. Now it's time to say goodbye. On behalf of WIUNI and TSiBA, I'd like to sincerely thank you for being here, to our speakers for your time, and for sharing their knowledge and your passion about your university and your hometown with us. Also, I want to thank all the participants who joined us today and for all the questions you have asked. Thank you again, Gia, for helping me answering all the questions. And final reminder, if you want to receive a certificate of attendance, please make sure to fill out the form I have shared in the chat. Once again, thank you all for being here with us. We look forward to seeing you in the next events organized by WIUNI, and have you all a wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are right now. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you in Cape Town.